Thanks for joining us. This is Notepad. This is a special segment called Pantau Kerajaan Baru, where we monitor some of the developments that is currently happening in the new government. One thing that we need to note is that today is the first day for many of the ministers reporting for duty. And earlier today, the Economy Minister, Ibrahim, has done his first press conference. Just to get an idea or a taste of what that ministry is going to be doing, here is the press conference that was done by Rafizi, our new Economy Minister.
So, shall we start? Because time is actually quite short. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Terima kasih kepada semua rakan media yang hadir. I have very short time sebenarnya, only about 10 minutes before I have to rush to the first cabinet meeting. So I can't blame the media if I'm late for the first cabinet meeting kan. So kita bersama dengan pimpinan kanan daripada EPU, daripada Jabatan Statistik, daripada Unit Kerjasama Awam Swasta. We give this opportunity kepada rakan media supaya in exchange for taking photos for the clocking in. So Alhamdulillah, I started semalam sebenarnya kerana kebetulan semalam ada mesyuarat peringkat menteri bagi negara-negara pengeluar minyak OPEC. So OPEC sits down regularly to set the production quota, so that had to happen last night. So saya ambil peluang untuk ucap terima kasih kepada semua pengurusan EPU yang menjadi sekretariat yang memudahkan dan juga wakil-wakil Petronas semalam. So this morning was a continuation of yesterday, so everything is good, well. It is daunting, but inshallah I think if you take it step by step, hopefully we'll see better days ahead. So rather than you listen to me, kalau ada very quick questions given the constraint of time. Sebab itu bila tadi kepimpinan EPU telah beri taklimat awal mengenai perancangan, sebenarnya masalah itu sudah sedia diketahui. I think there's a strong correlation between what I felt as an outsider previously about what needs to be focused with what is in planning. Maksudnya ada kesinambungan yang baik dari segi tumpuan untuk industri-industri ataupun kegiatan ekonomi yang boleh melonjakkan kepada negara berpendapatan tinggi. You know, this the whole focus to get us out of middle income trap. There's a lot of focus on less endowed states. Contohnya kan negeri-negeri yang buat masa sekarang ini tidak mengalami pertumbuhan yang baik, negeri-negeri yang lebih ramai orang miskin. There's a strong focus on the most vulnerable groups in society economically, you know, tentang program pembasmian tegar dan sebagainya. There's a strong focus on SDG and tech and knowledge economy, you know. So I think looking at what the plan is, I do have the comfort that the civil servants are trying their best and have covered all the necessary areas. You know, what we need to make sure is that there is a strong cohesion daripada the top leadership of the government all the way down to make sure that what is being planned actually is carried out properly and the message is being communicated well to put everyone on the right track. And then I think we can have the momentum so that the country can focus on building the economy rather than all the other, too much politics.
Wendy, are you proposing to have a changes in the 12 Malaysia plan? If yes, like what kind of changes are you?
I think that's premature. I think it's very premature for me to say anything about any policy now. So after all, it's my first hour officially in office. So let us go through everything with the leadership of ministry. Let us go through at the cabinet, and then I think we'll be able to decide with more information maybe in the weeks and months ahead. But I think it's too premature now.
What about the development expenditure? Have you had any thoughts on that?
We've gone through it, but I think it's at very macro level. As I say, it's very premature now to say anything. But I think we are going through the process anyway because the government will table emoluments budget, I think, in the next sitting. And then the full budget will be tabled maybe in a matter of 1 or 2 months after that. I can only take another one, otherwise I'll be late for my first. I don't, yeah.
Basically, what will be the only difference that you are bringing to the table at this current juncture will be your promise on the implementation of whatever policy?
No, I don't say that. I think, in the first hour of, catching up, I take comfort that I think what EPU is looking at now is very much correlated with what exactly matters economically out there. Of course, as we go through in more details in the next 1 or 2 months, obviously there'll be tweaks here and there, there'll be different approaches, but I don't see any major omission, for example. So that means that in terms of the focus, in terms of the areas, in terms of, it is more or less correlated with what I think the country should be focusing. But of course, there are different layers. As you go through the projects one by one, as you go through the coordination, then hopefully we can see what we can do differently to get better results.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you keep your promise to go after Tan Sri Azabaki?
I don't think that's exactly what I said. And I think it makes political sound bites or, news bites. But what I meant was that, should the new government takes over and we have, the priority is to really make everything independent and makes everything by the law. So it's not just Azambaki or anyone or even myself. We really have to be careful about what we do because once, hopefully, as we make sure there's no interference and all the institutions are independent and the check and balances work, then, everyone should really stay on the right course. Jadi, the law will take care of itself once we have independence, full independence, and that's a reminder to everyone. Last.
Jawatan PM yang sebagai Menteri Kewangan yang mana YB sendiri sebelum ini membantah dengan kedudukan itu.
I think it's an extraordinary circumstance. Ideally, yes. Kalau ikut pandangan saya, secara idealnya kita pisahkan jawatan Menteri Kewangan dengan jawatan Perdana Menteri dan pendirian itu tidak berubah. Saya tak berpendapat bahawa hanya kerana keadaannya sekarang ini mendesak dan kita kena ambil pendirian itu tidak bermakna bahawa itu perlu diteruskan. I think as best, but the situation is extraordinary. Kita berada dalam keadaan yang tidak ada mana-mana parti yang boleh membentuk kerajaan dan perlu bergabung, kan? Pada masa yang sama juga kita perlukan kepimpinan ekonomi yang kuat dan menjadi teras kepada program kerajaan. Jadi pada pandangan saya itu satu keputusan yang sangat sukar yang telah diambil sebenarnya, kerana bila kita ada gabungan-gabungan yang masing-masing membentuk kerajaan, sudah tentu setiap komponen mahu jawatan Menteri Kewangan itu berada di pihak mereka. Jadi kalau contohnya ada orang daripada PH yang jadi Menteri Kewangan pun, itu akan ada masalah kepada BN. Kalau daripada BN ada masalah kepada PH dan GPS dan lain-lain. Oleh kerana is an extraordinary situation now, maka keputusan itu bagi saya sesuai buat masa sekarang, iaitu senang Perdana Menteri yang jadi Menteri Kewangan, supaya dia tak timbul isu tentang gabungan yang berbeza. But I hope as we move forward and as we put everything in place, then certainly the situation now is an exception, not a norm. Okay? I really have to go. Otherwise nanti kau jawab dengan Ibrahim ni. Okay. Alright, thank you very much. I got to rush. We'll definitely meet again. Okay.
Okay, as you can see, he was actually quite hesitant in terms of outlining some of the new policies, and rightfully so, by the way, because you don't just start the job and start to dish out new policies. So it's important for us to understand a little bit better in terms of where his mind is heading. And of course, one thing that we can draw from that particular press conference is that he is going to sit down with some of his officers and try to understand a little bit better in terms of what needs to be done when it comes to ensuring that our economy is able to grow or able to sustain itself with the resources that is made available for us. So there's a lot that needs to be unpacked from that first press conference. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss with Kamal Mustadza of Wahid, the Sharia Invest platform, here to understand a little bit better about what's next there. So that was the press conference that was done by Muhammad Rafizi Ramli, the economy minister. He mentioned it's his first hour on the job, so there's a lot more that needs to be unpacked there. And because of that, we have a guest on the line joining us, Kamal Mustadza. He's a fund manager at the Sharia fintech firm Wahid. Kamal, what do you make of that announcement? What's your first impression of our new economy minister?
Thank you, Ibrahim. So I think from what Rafiz has mentioned, he clearly said that it is premature to actually discuss any specific policy. So I think it is remain to be seen on what he and his ministry can do in terms of the policy making for the economy. But I think the fact that he addressed the press, on his first day at his job, so I think it really tried to assure the market that he has already been in touch with the EPU, been in touch with all the stakeholders to ensure that the economy is being taken care of.
Talking about the markets, there are some companies that have already posted results. In fact, CGS-CIMB posted a note saying that the ratio of companies posting results is above their expectations, and it rose 38% in the third quarter of this season, while the ratio of underperformers also rose to 26%. And some of the sectors that needs to be looked at includes consumer, property, REIT companies, as this accounts for 40% of the total companies that beat expectations. Because of this, do you think that there will be some sectorial looks into what Rafizi is going to do and perhaps rehabilitate some of these sectors? Or do you think that this is more of income towards the government and he thinks that he needs to focus on how to improve the income, which is, I guess, coded message that GST might come into play in the near future?
I think in the end for the country, I think they really need to focus on getting the sustainable revenue from all these corporates. Yes, I think we do see, some sectoral, some sectors benefit, like you said, consumer, property and REITs, but that's because I think we are still in the economic reopening phase where these consumer names actually benefit from all this growing consumer spending. And then I think the decliners, I think those sectors that actually posted earnings below expectation, definitely they are, a reflection of the global economic slowdown that we are seeing so far. So I think when it comes to the government, the focus is more on the income as a whole. So that's why I think there's no, I don't foresee any kind of sectors being targeted by the government.
The reintroduction of unpopular policies, GST may just be one of the many, but targeted subsidies and many more, including that of petrol subsidies, trying to get more money from Petronas, for instance, oil dividends. Some of these things might not necessarily be sustainable, but some are. However, most are going to be unpopular. How do you think this government is going to navigate itself, considering that many of the medicine that we have to take is actually quite bitter? How do you think this is going to be massaged to the public, Kamal?
Because, like I said just now, I think the focus of the government must be in terms on trying to, getting the sustainable revenue. And of course, this actually, the two most policies that will be impacted by this is with the reintroduction of GST as well as the targeted subsidy. I think it is probably a bit too early for the government to actually introduce these two measures because given the unpopularity of the measures that will have an impact to the people, but I think they should at least start the conversation now in terms of trying to prepare the people, prepare the corporates in what to be expected in the next 2-3 years.
The estimates that is coming in from CGS-CIMB's notes this morning shows that the 2023 forecast earnings will be partially driven by the expiry of Cukai Makmur. This is following the third quarter earnings season. CGS-CIMB now estimates that KLCI's core net profit to grow by negative 2.9% to positive 12.8% in the 2022 forecast to 2023 forecast. The slight downgrade in the 2022 forecast earnings comes from some companies like Petchem or IHH Healthcare, while the 2023 forecast growth will be predominantly driven by banks, likely, according to CGS-CIMB, 20% earnings expansion. And because of this expiry of Cukai Makmur, do you feel that some of the corporates can use some of their retained earnings to grow their companies even further and perhaps even grow the KLCI's earnings in general or broadly even higher for 2023?
I think when it comes to 2023, I think if we look at the global headlines, I think 2023 is going to be still a challenging year. So I guess for corporates, even if they got the benefit from the expiry of Cukai Makmur, they might actually hold up in terms of the capex just to ensure that they can actually use that excess cash to actually navigate through a tough time.
Kamal, also... sorry, we kind of lost you, Kamal. Are you... Okay, so Kamal, final question before we take a look into some other sectors. There are some notion that the CGS-CIMB and many other research houses for this, for that matter, has published their notes this morning, and they are neutral on the new cabinet, and they are also neutral on the recently announced slimmer cabinet. but many are saying that they are quite optimistic in terms of looking at the ability for this cabinet to stabilize itself. From the eyes of an investor, being a fund manager yourself, are you likely to be focusing more on government policies to tackle cost of living, as well as what's going to happen in the parliamentary sitting on the December 19th? Or what other areas do you think that investors are keeping an eye out for in Malaysia when it comes to attracting new investments for the fourth quarter as well as for 2023?
As the first parliamentary sitting is going to happen on the December 19th, I think the first test for the Prime Minister is actually to ensure that he has enough support from the MPs. So I guess as long as there's no political uncertainties, that is something that will be taken positively by the market. And then I think you mentioned about the cabinet itself. So the way I see it, I think focus for the cabinet, I think for me myself, it's more towards on those who actually hold the finance portfolio, the economic portfolio, as well as the media portfolio. So if you look at the combination, is for me, I do look at it in the combination of the old face, meaning we have anyone who has been there in the 1990s, and at the same time we have a combination with current face, which is Temple Saprul, which used to be the previous finance minister, and also we have the new face in the sense of Fizi Ramli with his so many ideas. So I guess you see the combination of these three individuals is something that investors are looking towards to see on how they will navigate the economic challenges in 2024.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kamal. That was Kamal Mustadzah, the fund manager at Wahid Investment. We are going to bring in some more news when it comes to the conversations of how new economy minister is going to navigate, as well as many of the other ministers that is clocking in for the first time today. And just to note, some of them are indeed taking on governmental jobs for the first time ever in their lives. Many of them have been in the political scene for decades even, but this is the first time that they are entering public office and they are actually working together with the civil servants. So there's a lot that needs to be unpacked for this. Also, in about a week or so from now, more news will be coming in terms of what the parliamentary sitting is going to look like and how it's going to be navigated. Just to recap for today, the EPF, for instance, have published a note saying that they've recorded a total gross investment income of 39.31 billion ringgit for the 9 months ended 30th of September. This is a decrease of 18% or 8.71 billion compared to the 48 billion ringgit recorded in the same period of 2021. The gross investment income for the third quarter of 2022 ended 30th September for this year has amounted to 12.32 billion ringgit, a decrease of 1.65 billion ringgit or 12% compared to the 13.97 billion ringgit in the corresponding period in 2021. However, according to EPF, this also represents an 11% improvement over the second quarter of this year. EPF CEO Datuk Sri Amir Hamzah Hazizan said that due to markets stabilizing themselves in the conditions that they're facing right now, both equity and fixed income investments, the EPF's third quarter performance battered the previous quarter's gross investment income of 11.14 billion ringgit. More news on EPF that is going to be coming up soon on Awani.com. In the meantime, my name is Ibrahim Sani, and speaking on behalf of my colleague earlier, Najib Arif, we're signing off for this morning. Have a pleasant week ahead. This is going to be a brilliant Monday, not just for the cabinet that is taking office for the first time, but for us as well, as this is going to start into the final month of this year. So I wish you all the best for working in the month of December. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Take care.